Good evening. This is the Elliott Wave daily update for the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100 for Monday, September 9th, 2024. And I have to tell you, here's another saying that somebody will enjoy. Just when you think it was safe to go back in the water, the market does what the market does. Now, I'm not really changing any of the count or the order of which I think is likely still in force. And that remains that I think we're still preparing to drop even further to complete a minor fourth wave before we zip higher in a minor fifth wave. Now, having said that, and before I go into that, I want to just add today's trade. Now, on the 4-hour chart, you can tell this was Globex yesterday. The initial, we went down. We put in a new low. Pretty sure that was Globex. No, this was actually Friday. So Globex was here. And interesting, very, very interesting. And so the market did kind of go down, but it didn't put in an additional new low as the NASDAQ actually did in the start of Globex yesterday. Now, but nonetheless, you can tell by just using a 4-hour chart, they just bought it all the way until the 1 p.m. on Monday. Then we had a little bit of a correction. Now, what this really felt like, because let me see, well, they took it off. But, the VIX was down. Granted, the Dow was up almost 500. The NASDAQ was up 265. The Russell, the S&P, everybody was up, but they smacked it. So initially, it's like when you're really dealing with the declines that we had last week, volatility naturally gets marked lower with a decent rally. But when I start to see that they were likely selling it, and it really began to appear that some folks out there were doing the risk on trade. They're putting it back on. That's what it appeared to look like to me. Now, I don't have any evidence of that, and I won't until I can basically see the data that will come out from today's options trading and today's shifting around of gamma. Now, so when I look at this, I want to first actually discuss the alternate count that I gave over the weekend. And that is that, of course, that this is actually ABC 4, minor 4. And this ends up being minute wave 1 of minor wave 5, which kind of tells you, if that's the case, minor 5 is going to be a humdinger. Minor 5 will likely take this market, no joke, to 6,000. You would think almost at a minimum that that's where it's going to go if this indeed was the first wave, which basically took us from 5120 to 5670. So 500 points. And you're thinking, well, if it's a complete 5 waves and wave 3 is going to be longer, what does that tell us? That this might be coming into play? Who knows anymore? To be honest with you, who knows anymore? The market is just kind of off, and it's, I think, in its own little world. And again, it truly just seems to me that it continues to revolve around how the options are trading, how these positions are being put on. And we're talking about across several different levels in terms of we have the Mag 7 coming back into play. We have different sectors coming into play. We have the SMH make a nice little recovery today. We had movement in gold. We had movement in platinum. We had movement in silver. Crude oil all of them. Bitcoin, managing to climb back up, even though by the end of the day, Bitcoin was, pulling back a little bit, but it was up decent. Now, what can I say? If indeed, I'll start with my preferred. I'll go there first. If this is still going to be wave A of -4, wave B of -4, and we're in that C wave down, well, this is not an unacceptable rally, but it hasn't broken any rules. And I probably could swing this together to call this, maybe 1, 2, 3, and this is a wave 4, which would say it cannot come above 5506, which is not a whole lot. Let me see. Let me get that straight. 5509, 55089, somewhere in there. And that in and of itself presents a problem when we're pushing. We're pushing. We're almost back to 5,500. And let me just say, above 5,500 takes us out of that red zone, out of that, wow, we're got all this negative gamma, and puts us back towards more positive. And once that happens, once that can be officially noted, well, then it's risk on. So this time we had 3 days, 4 days of risk off trade. And granted, like, this wasn't all that much more, but I'm like, wow, that's flipping things back and forth so quickly that it kind of leaves us going like, wow, what is going on? What was last week? And what created that situation? And again, I really rely no more on well, it's this data or that data, or it was this move or that move, or it's a political situation, or it's the war in the Ukraine, or whatever's going on that we think should affect the financial markets. I'm tossing out. Because it seems to be that really what is controlling is how all of these flows intertwine, and the market just moves accordingly. Now, granted, we have stocks like NVIDIA that likely still, I mean, I don't think it can erase everything as to the reason people started to sell it. I think that they had maybe the narrative. Again, I don't really follow all the fundamentals that go along with NVIDIA. But I just, I have to think that NVIDIA may still continue to go down. Now, a lot of people thought, if it dipped below 100, it's a buy. You just buy it. And I think it's like, well, I'll just show you, because I actually do analysis on NVIDIA. If I'm going to follow NVIDIA, or if NVIDIA is following the moves in the NASDAQ, well, then it also is doing a wave 4. And it also did A, and then we got a B. Don't pay attention to the man behind these curtains, because that all, I haven't filled in all the blanks. But just a straight look at NVIDIA, A, B coming down in a C wave, and projects to 80, basically. Because when you're working with fibs and you're working in an ABC, the discussion goes to that C's most common fib is equality, which means they're equal, and that's 79.85. There we have people that saying, oh, no, they can't go below 90 because there's the support, that's major support. Look how far that stock has come down. And it's like, well, okay, all of that may be good, but, the stock will do what the stock will do. Now, granted that we see that the stock managed to pick itself up today. It kind of traded down 105, 104, then it came back, then it came down, and it's ending up that they're continuing to bid this higher. Not tremendously, 50 cents at the moment. So again, is this just a bounce off of that strong down day? And maybe even if they want to combine it, a strong down week. And it was a holiday shortened week to boot. That may be the case. But NVIDIA, it does project to kind of go lower. Sure, it came down to that first line of support. But if it is a continuation and it's an ABC, it shouldn't stop there. Maybe to do a little bounce, but it should come down and continue to go down. Now, with that in mind, and we get back over to, where did I start? I think I started in the S&P, didn't I? Yes. So we're going to go back here to the S&P. So just with that in mind, this part is now what I'm looking at. So I'm not updating any of this. I will present along with it, because I gave it up over the weekend, is that, okay, what if this is one minute one of minor 5? What that really does tell us, and of course what we're doing is minute wave 2. So we're looking at, again, this would be complete. All these minutes are complete. Minor wave 4 would be complete. We're in a minor wave 5, which then we add this over to this to get our levels going up. And I'm not going to do that right now because I'm not convinced that that's the case. But what it would suggest is absolutely we smash the high, the current high at 57.21, basis the future, basis the September future. And then we just start flying up. Now, here's the other ticket that's kind of need to be considered. We are getting ready to start to roll these futures out, right? September, let's see. Okay, September futures have basically 11 days left, 11 days of life left. And quite frequently, as we get to the end of this week, you'll see like Thinkorswim, you'll see, TradingView, a lot of these other data providers roll. They'll move out to the December contract. So in that case, we're looking at not a whole lot, but this is, let's say 90, that's 43. So that's what? It's about $50 a premium in the December contract versus the September contract. Now it starts to get interesting, doesn't it? Because when it rolls, bingo, that's where we're going to be. So what else can I do? Well, I come over and I say, okay, this is not going to change, right? This is not going to change. Let me come out of that weekly. Let's go down to the 4-hour here. But I have to be honest with you, this one is pretty much totally flat. I came back to 56.51, 56.51. And that high was 56.69. So it's like, wow. So this, and I would anticipate, really just comes back to here. But it also brings about the possibility, as I discussed over the weekend, it's an ABC, and this is the 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however we got to work it out. And then A, B, C, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I know what this looks like, folks. Trust me, I know what it looks like. But if it does, and this is minute wave 1 of minor wave 5, we go way above that. We head up towards here likely. And this is cash. This is the cash. If we're going to finish this intermediate degree, because that's what comes in. Minor 5 to finish intermediate 3. Here and here. Now, Do I think that that is what's going on? Well, I'm not sure. So I'm presenting it as a possibility, but I'm still looking like, we would have shifted from a strong negative gamma atmosphere to a positive gamma atmosphere in a matter of hours. And if I had to base it on this today, it's like, wow, somebody had something up their sleeve. That's what it appears like to me. And like, why would somebody, I'm not sure even why anybody would go like, okay, that was it. Let's just move back in. As if, they had to be big enough, I guess. But don't forget, at the end of the month, not that it has any effect because I haven't noticed it ever before, we have JP Morgan and their big role that they do in the SPX options to hedge one of the hedge funds at JP Morgan. I've already told you, stealth trading, absolute stealth trading, amazing traders to get this done without anybody knowing, without anybody seeing, without any disruption to the daily flow and the daily trade. It's perfect. It's awesome to watch and see how they do this. Now, for right now, though, even in the cash, I do, if I look at this, I'm like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 gonna come up, and it's already sitting right below what I would count as wave 1 of 3. So already I'm like, okay, this just gets too bizarre. And so I'm going to leave it alone, and I'm going to let the market tell me, because it could be, an ABC down. And because I can't count 5. And if it's an ABC down, then this is going to turn into a much stronger rally. Our clues are going to come as follows. Now, this is the cash. Let me go back over to the futures market. Our clues are going to come from if we can get strongly above that, which we're going to find out because I believe they will. Apple, everyone's going to love their little program that they showed off, the Apple 16 and the new iPads, and the fact that the AirPods are going to double up as hearing aids for some people. And the iWatch is going to be able to be triggered and notify people that are sleeping that they have sleep apnea. Interesting stuff. It's great. If it all comes through and it gets the approval it wants, well, then Apple's off into the medical apparatuses, right? The tools. So again, good for Apple. I've never felt that they were a bad company ever. They're innovative. They've got a lot of product, and now they're jumping head over heels and making their presence known in AI. So is that going to be the reason why we saw what we saw today? The movement back into AI, the movement back into tech, the movement back into like these stocks. And you're like, wow, okay. Now, I'm going to continue to leave it like I left it over the weekend, folks. And that is, if indeed we still have additional downside to do, we really should not go up all that much more. If we get back above 5,500, which is 13 points from where we are, if we get back above 1,500, comfort, no more that negative is gone, and we might free flow back and forth, up, down, up, down, up, down, until the next larger whomever makes the move. Now, it does change the gamma atmosphere. We break back above 5,500, just as we were going to break below 5,400, it could have opened up a floodgate again, and we start to drop precipitously, to start to drop. They being, I don't know who they are, but other traders in this market who probably were part of that put wall that was sitting there We're like, no way, we're not going to get killed another day here. And so they just kept it up and just moved it up and moved it up and get it far enough away to take the threat away, possibly. So if I had to count this, which I do have to, I I'm not really sure other than I'm thinking one, two, three, or one, two, one of three, two of three, and we really do turn and come down. What's going to negate that if we go above there, which is 55.32? If this is one of three, two of three cannot take out that high. If it does, well, then we're going to flip it because then it's going to be the alternate that I've been discussing. Then I'm going to say that this is one of five, two of five. And beautiful, beautiful second wave, really, if you can look at it. Second wave is just like get out of the pool because bam, you get smacked, you get smacked, you get smacked. And they go a lot further than you think. Not that this one necessarily did. Okay, so now 4 hour. Let's go up to that daily. I want to see how all of this got left on that daily. It's not necessarily this bullish engulfing, but it is a fairly decent lift off of these strong down bars, particularly Tuesday and Friday. So not totally unexpected. So we'll see how this all plays out. They're not really marking it at all. Up a little bit, up a little bit. Actually, this is down a little bit. So we'll see. We'll see how they want to handle this. If it starts to go down again, that's going to be more fitting for what I think, right? Because the other side of this story is that we're still in this C wave down, and maybe we've got just, and I have to get internal with it, maybe this is just one of C, two of C. I mean, bring it down. Let me go back to that 4-hour chart. And we're looking at this. It's like, is this just one of C? You know, if I really break this down, I can get 1, 2, 3, 4. And what's all this? A 5? Somehow? I mean, look at this. Look at these moves. We're heading lower. They come up, they take it all back, they go down, they fly higher, they cremate that. I was like, wow, okay. So it was just really kind of strange day. Friday, with that rally off of the non-farm payrolls. Yeah, interesting. And then today, to me, folks, it really did have the look and feel of risk on. Right? Remember we talked about it? It's like when we have risk on, the market can't catch a sell. It's just like every time it turned down ticks, 3 ticks, buyers step right back in. That's kind of how it was. I mean, I can bring this sucker all the way down to a 5-minute chart and you can just look at it and it's like, yep, that part, but then this part, and then this part, and then this part. Yep, those were there. So that we did catch a sell, so to speak. But look at all the moves in between. Up and then down, and then up and then down, and up, 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 up. So it had its periods. So that kept me on the sidelines of actually saying, oh no, this is risk back on. They're just really doing it. Because I think it kind of became selective. So let's see what happens. I'm going to let the market tell me a little bit more before I start to fill in any labeling. What can I expect for tomorrow? It's going to be totally driven by the market. Let me just double check, see if what numbers, if anything, we got coming out tomorrow. We have the NFIB Optimism Index at 6 a.m. Woo-hoo. Last time it didn't do anything. I'm not expecting much this time. Big numbers this week. Wednesday and Thursday, we have CPI and Wednesday PPI on Thursday, along with initial jobless claims. And Friday, import price and consumer sentiment. We don't have any Fed people talking. They're off at their meeting. Okay, so nothing really number-wise is going to create a rift. But again, we got to get through Asia trade, we got to get through European trade, and then bring it back to us and see what everybody's wanting to do. So my initial is if it's a bounce, the bounce should be done. And even if I took it down, I took it down, I took it down. Let's take a look at the hourly chart. You're looking for an ABC up, and I would have to mark it from here and think that, well, we've already passed 618,786. So it is truly just a tough, tough call. So if I'm not taking that, but I've got to take it from here, we'll do the same thing because we're just adding fibs, to see where we go. We're just past, we got 618 at 54.99. That could work. If this is like 1, 2, 3, 4 comes up here, 4 just can't cross over that. So it can reach there. Oh, it's close. It's close. But, even when I open this up, it's looking pretty much like, that was like, okay, great, we hit it, boom. And then no, and then we hit it, boom, and no. So again, we're going to see resistance 5,500, 5,530, 5,565, and that's just basis this. And we can go inside here. We can go here to here. There's all kinds of different levels that I can put in. I don't have anything strong except these points, maybe, but this one and 5,500. If you're in the trade room, then of course tomorrow morning I'm going to be giving adjusted levels that have come in overnight for the different levels of gamma and where the options flow was and where things are lining up, a volatility trigger. This is the other important thing. We get a volatility trigger, which I believe is above all of this. It could really just flip the market and start it moving higher if we get above that volatility trigger. And so regardless of downside pressure. And that doesn't mean that it can go up and then suddenly, when we do get the Fed news, whatever it's going to be, it just reverses it all over again. I don't know. This is the craziness of how the market is trading. And also I discussed, and I will discuss again at some point, the algorithms and the things that are trading now and the moves that they're making do stretch and pull on standard Elliott counting, Elliott labeling. So, and I'm not saying that I intend to change all of that because it's something that I've worked with and used in my analysis for 36 years. So it's a long time to suddenly, go like, okay, you got to change it or you got to dump it, because I do believe that there is still human emotional reaction in trading. So unless we can eliminate that, which AI might just do, I think that Elliott wave still has a place. All right. Let's go over and take a look at the NASDAQ, because the NASDAQ was just as crazy insane. Now here you can see the NASDAQ did, again, this is last Friday, in that extra hour we went boom, and we got down to a low at 18,339. We'll call it 18,340. And then we started to rally back up, starting in the Globex on Sunday. We had a fairly strong, right at 10 a.m. Boom. Took it from 18,720 to 18,516. So it dropped to 200 points. And it did it in an hour. So interesting. Very, very interesting. And then they ran it all the way back up to the high. Then they pushed it up to new high and brought it back down. And then they took it back up and took it to new highs. So what is this? It is very, very difficult. Even if I take it down to the 15-minute, it's like it gets very, very difficult. Yep, it looks like a 3, though, doesn't it? So, but what is this? Is this like a running 4? And now we're going to put in a C wave? No. Let's just kind of go back and take it up 1 and go like, well, if it's going to do that, What are the limitations? If this is 1, 2, and they have 1, 2, and I got 3, 4, and I have a 5, and I put a 3 down here. So what's that suggest? That we're going to go from here. So I'm looking for this fourth wave up with under this guise here. A little bit easier in the NASDAQ than it is in the S&P, by the way. Here, okay, we got 88.56. And that could certainly go up and still be a C wave and not create a whole lot of riff, a whole lot of trouble, a whole lot of what is this count? I know you guys are going to try to pick me apart with this and this and this. Make your suggestion. That's adding to the conversation. And you guys know that I love it when you guys come in and add to the conversation. Open up those doors. Let us all talk about it instead of just saying, no, this is what it is. Because there are choices here. And again, the NASDAQ, like the S&P, has had an effect on counting Elliott wave because of the algorithmic trading. It doesn't say that I'm not in favor of algorithmic trading, because I'm going to tell you some of those moves are like jackpots. So let's go back to the count. So if I'm looking at this and I'm thinking that maybe wave 3 could be over, and I probably could put it in there. I was thinking maybe we get down to here, to be honest with you, right? That's what that 1.618, but not necessary. If I can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like, okay, that all works. In fact, you know what? I am going to do it. Let the market tell me I'm wrong, right? Let me just put it out there, because as soon as I do, you know that they're going to come back and go like, oh yeah, that's what you think? Sure. So let's just put that up and see what we get from here. Okay, so we just open, and the NASDAQ is going to open up 87.30. So they're going to keep pushing on this, which is fine. And we got Apple, at least up $1. And I'm sure we got some others like gonna go with them. Nvidia is moving up a little bit. Tesla's probably moving up a little bit. But in any case, we have room up to 18,857. And that's just 382. That's where wave 4 would be 38.2% retracement of the third wave. What it can't do, it can't come up past 19,138. Or actually, let me give it to you exactly, because I got to go back over to the other side. And 19,140. That's the low of wave 1. Wave 4 cannot. But it can get close. As long as it doesn't break it, it can get close. But 38.2, that's the norm. And bringing it back down into here, well, that would be A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. It works. 87.32, 88.50, that's 150 points. It works. It could get there and if complete, and then we start to sell again. Regardless of what I felt was going on today, even if they were, regardless of all that happening, I think they could all get kicked in the teeth again. And there's many things coming midweek. Don't forget, Wednesday and Thursday. We've got actually Tuesday and Wednesday. Didn't I just tell you that? Tells you where my poor brain. Time for a break. No, it's Wednesday and Thursday. CPI and PPI. And that could be enough to kind of jerk it around a little bit and upset the apple cart for a rate cut. All kinds of things. So we got that out there. I'm going to stick to the flows, though. And the flows were definitely back and forth today on the basis that the numbers as they came out and were presented this morning really kind of laid it very clean about breakpoints. And in the S&P, 5,400 was major. In other words, it goes, and it was already negative, so to drop below 5,400 would just shove this thing into a high gear to get lower. In the NASDAQ, I believe that level was 18,300-ish and didn't even get close. So it continues to then work towards the upside. And it didn't really hit any numbers. I don't think we have anything right in here. I believe they do come in higher, above 19,000. And then that starts to flip the NASDAQ back from negative gamma to the positive gamma. So putting it all together, at least I will put that label on here and still look at this being a wave 4 within the minute C wave down. Now, that would suggest that wave 5 is going to be a humdinger. So let me take it back down to that hourly chart and say, well, if we had to start to come down, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, but then it can't come above there. And if we're just looking at that it's the third wave is not done yet, right? 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3, 1 of 3 of 3, etc. It would just really put us into a much stronger sell. Not saying that that's the case. But if we're looking, right, for a 5 waves down on a minuet level, and we're getting ready to finish minuet wave 4 of that minute C wave, that leaves minuet 5, and that has a lot to go if we're looking for it to come down below here. Can happen. Here we have it. Can happen. There you go. Look at that. So is that any different? Just a little bit smaller, but look at the comparison. I can compare it. And then what did we get? Wham. And how many days? This was the 1st of August. This was the 5th of August. So, 4th of August. So basically 3 days. If we start tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we could be down here. Because the total of that move, 19,680 to 17,300, that's a $500 move. So from here, we're looking 18,200. Maybe even more. We'd have to get more. That doesn't suggest also, we could get, I have not seen it in a long time, but that it would be more of a flat, but boy, with this not even close to that, it makes it very difficult. So let's just see how this all plays out. If anything, I had to put a 3 there, and we'll see what happens. And in any case, I can go back. This could be of a much smaller degree, or not one much smaller, but one smaller, and maybe just one, minuet wave 1, or inside this 3, it's extending. It's not as cute and pretty as we think. That this might be 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3, 4 of 3, 5 of 3, 3, 4, 5, and we still end up down here. Just all suggestions. We now need the market. But remember, please, the difference between a positive gamma atmosphere and a negative gamma atmosphere, positive gamma is just the market buys. The market needs to buy. Hedging is to the buy. Negative gamma atmosphere, sell. The market's going to need to sell. Dealers, traders need to sell when levels start to get broken. Then they start to accelerate the selling. Okay, I am going to finish it up right there. We will be, of course, I pay very close attention. Again, tomorrow morning, I'm going to be giving a workshop. Actually, it's kind of like a webinar with Sasha. Sasha is going to be joining me, and we're at the timing research. And it's a 3-day. Today was the first day. Tomorrow's the second day. We are presenting at 1 p.m. Eastern. If you need more information, please go to timingresearch.com and go ahead, sign up, and get your place. And to join us, it's all free, but it's on Elliott wave and Fibonacci. So all of the analysts are going to be there, have all experience, and they work with Elliott Wave and Fibonacci. But of importance, at 1 p.m. Eastern, Sasha and I will be presenting our views on Elliott and Fibonacci and how we're using it and why. So it's kind of interesting because it's going to be the first one for Sasha, and I know a lot of people really like his work. So big chance you can get an introduction by coming and listening to both of us. Again, that's tomorrow, timingresearch.com, and it is at 1 p.m. Eastern. The next Elliott Wave Daily Update will be on Tuesday, September the 10th.